All right, so our first guest of the season, we want to really start it off with a bang this year, and I'm really excited to welcome to the show the voice of the Oklahoma Sooners, Mr. Toby Rowland. Toby, thank you for joining us today.
It's great to be with you.
All right, so we the voice of the Oklahoma Sooners. You've got a chance to see the three players we're talking about today: Kyler Murray, Marquise Brown, and Rodney Anderson. And we're going to start off with the Heisman Trophy candidate, and I think it's very serendipitous, I guess you could say, that we're doing this interview just a couple days after he officially announced that he is fully committing to going into the NFL. Just kind of, what are some of your thoughts on Kyler and his kind of his football journey?
Well, I'm not surprised. I called all of his baseball games at OU as well, and I think he had a chance, and maybe still does. We'll see. But I think he had a chance to be a guy that was a starting center fielder in the major leagues for somebody for a decade, and potentially an all-star. I think his ceiling in baseball is incredible, but by watching him up close, I think he really liked baseball, but he loved football. I think that's where his heart was. And, you got to chase that. I think he would have always wondered what could have been if he had decided to go the baseball route. So not a surprising choice that he went the football direction, at least for now anyway. He's an incredible talent. He's a unique talent at his size. I think that he's going to and is giving NFL GMs a bit of a migraine headache trying to figure out exactly, what he's going to be in the NFL. So it's been fun. He shocked me last year, quite frankly. I thought he would be good as a quarterback. I thought he was a better thrower of the football than people realized, and I knew his legs would give teams fits. But his accuracy, his poise, maturity blew me away. I didn't expect him to come anywhere close to putting up the kind of year that Baker Mayfield had, much less maybe statistically better in several ways. So he's a remarkable talent, and I like the rest of you. Can't wait to see what he does at the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Just you mentioned his size. The official measurements I've got from him off the NFL Combine site is that he's 5'10", 195. Is that right about where Oklahoma has him?
Yeah, I think that's what he's listed as, 5'10". I think he'll measure right at that, probably within a quarter of an inch either way of the 5'10" mark. I've stood next to him. I don't feel like I'm 6 foot even. I don't feel like I'm that much taller than him, but I think he's probably going to be right at 5'10". Okay. His agent says he's bulked up a little bit and might be more like 205 now, but the height's what everybody's worried about, and he's going to be somewhere between 5'9.5" and 5'10.25" would be my guess.
Okay, and you mentioned the statistical season. Just looking at that, 4,300 passing yards, 42 passing touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, 1,000 rushing yards, 12 TDs. You talked about his athleticism, and one of the comparisons that I've seen all over the place is a guy from my hometown team, the Seahawks, is Russell Wilson. And I think the main difference, you talked about Murray's, he's elusive, or his elusiveness running the ball and his surprising accuracy when it comes to throwing the ball. I think that's one thing that people underestimated about Russell Wilson was his accuracy, especially throwing the deep ball, which, going through Kyler Murray's tape, his ability to put the ball in stride on receivers going deep, especially with someone like Marquise Brown, who is an absolute burner, I think is a phenomenal talent that just simply can't be taught.
Yeah, and he's got a big arm too. It's hard for you could see the baseball player in him come out at times. He'll have creative sidearm throws in traffic to get it around. He's got a little streak of Patrick Mahomes in him in that regard, in that he can find creative arm slots. He's got a big arm. He throws the deep ball really well. I think the comparison with Russell Wilson is the best we have, and he could. I mean, listen, if he could have the kind of career Russell's had, he'd take it in a heartbeat. I don't know if he'll be that or not, but I think he's the closest comparison that you can make to anybody in the NFL right now. I would say he's a more electric runner than Russell, and Russell is very elusive. I think that I would give a slight quickness edge to Kyler in that regard. But I don't know if he's as, certainly at this point in his career, a polished of a quarterback in the pocket as Russell is. So, I mean, it's going to be for whoever drafts him. I think you've got to build your offense around this guy. This isn't just a guy that you drop in your offense and say, all right, pick up where our 6'3" pocket passer left off. His unique set of skills kind of begs you to build the offense around him. And to Lincoln Riley's credit, he did that last year. There was some zone read option in the Oklahoma offense where they would just, say, you go get some yards with your legs, but not a ton. For the most part, he was in the pocket, in the shotgun, and was surveying the field looking for guys to throw the ball to. And if he couldn't find someone or the protection broke down, then he would take off. So it wasn't like he was a run-first quarterback by any means. Anybody who watched Oklahoma play knew that his first idea was to try to find Hollywood or CD Lamb or one of his big tight ends. And if it didn't happen, then he'd take off and see if he could make some magic with his legs.
Yeah, I think that comparing in that back and forth between Murray and Wilson, I think that Wilson has always been criticized, at least up here in Seattle, that he waits too long. That he's before taking off, he waits for that big home run. He's always looking out for his wide receivers and doesn't take off when he probably could. And I think that Kyler Murray, especially in the college game, showed that he was able to do that very well. Finally decide, okay, we're going. And again, he has, I think, I agree with you that he has that quick twitch a little bit more than Russell. While Russell's very elusive, Russell also has about 20 pounds on Kyler Murray. And so I think that if Murray can learn to not take the big hits, use that elusiveness and do what Russell has done, because Russell has not taken that many big shots in his career because of that elusiveness. I think that'll really help Kyler, possibly have an extensive career in the league.
It's a good point. He was good this year at sliding when in danger. And again, you could see that baseball background. So he was pretty good at getting down and getting out of bounds. He took a couple of big knocks against Alabama in the bowl game. But other than that, he did a pretty good job this year of avoiding putting himself in a car crash. So that'll be important for him going forward, because he is even if he does put 10 pounds on before the draft or whatever, he's a small guy.
Yeah. And
he's, there's a bunch of big guys that are going to be chasing him, so he's going to have to be smart.
Yeah, and then one more on the arm strength. I think the best example for me seeing that was the basically like the quick arm flip for the 55-yard touchdown to Morris in the against Alabama, just on the run, just like a quick flip of the arm, 55 yards in the air. He has that great arm strength. Again, not quite the Mahomes arm strength, because let's be honest, Mahomes is a freak of nature when it comes to how far he can throw the ball. But just his ability, I think, especially it's that baseball background of being able to make those kind of moves on the run. So
he's an odd guy in that I think he has a better arm in football than in baseball. I remember watching him throw a football last year, or 2 years ago it would have been. And the zip with which it comes out, it stuns you, because he is a smaller guy. The zip that he has on a football. And I remember thinking, I can't wait to watch him on the baseball diamond. And the first time that a fly ball was hit to him and he had to make a throw to home, I remember being slightly disappointed, thinking, that looked pretty average. I think his baseball arm is pretty average, and his football arm is extraordinary. And I've been it would take a physicist or somebody to explain to me why that is, but he really, when he throws a football, it's got some sauce behind it.
All right, one last thing on Kyler Murray before we move to the other two players is just, as a quarterback, the locker room presence and the leadership is a necessity in order to really take over the huddle and not necessarily assert dominance, but make sure that you are the leader, you are the general on the field on the offense. And just if you could kind of give just a quick kind of synopsis of Murray and his leadership skills.
I think that'll be interesting going into the NFL. He is the 180-degree polar opposite of Baker Mayfield. Baker was brash and loud and carried himself with swagger, and we loved him for that, and he still does in Cleveland. That is not Kyler at all. Kyler is quiet. He's confident, but he's not brash. Kyler's not dancing in a circle for his teammates to watch. He's a quiet kid. And I think Kyler, his entire life, has always been the best athlete at everything he does, wherever he goes. And when he walks into the locker room, he commands respect, because that's the Kyler Murray that was voted the best football player in Texas history. That's the Kyler Murray that was drafted in the top 10 in the baseball draft. He's always been the Kyler Murray. And that's how he kind of led, because he carried an aura with him. Now, I don't know if that, the guys in the NFL, when he comes walking in, that doesn't necessarily happen. So he's probably going to have to find his vocal leadership voice a little more than he displayed at the college level. Not that it wasn't there, but it's not. He led by example, whereas Baker Mayfield led by example and vocally.
Okay.